Hey guys, welcome back. So good to have you here today. We are going to do a very favorite inversion, a really place to start if you want to get upside down. We're going to work on our headstand. So I'm going to teach you two different versions, a bound or a supported headstand and a tripod headstand. Those are the most basic ways to start off, and I have some people that really love the supported headstand and some people that really love the tripod version, and it will be up to you to decide what works the very best for you. So make sure that you are adequately warmed up. You want a nice engaged core. The shoulders are not only engaged and warmed up, but they've also stretched out a bit because you have to have your arms pretty open and able to get your hips on top of your shoulders. So a nice way to open them up would be some puppy pose, really emphasizing that stretch across the fronts of the shoulders and through the chest. You can use a wall to do this as well. Maybe add in some push-ups, get things really nice and engaged and ready to go. And I'm just gonna be here to show you how to get upside down. All right, so once you are ready, both ways, it's really nice to be able to start on your shins. So I sit right on my shins and then I can lower my arms down. Once your arms are down, check that you are shoulders width. You're gonna just reach across, grab opposite elbow, and then you know that your elbows are the same width as your shoulders. Once you're there, then you can bring your arms back down flat and you know that you are shoulders width. This is a great thing to do anytime you're working in forearm stand, headstand, forearm plank. Having that shoulders width is really, really important, and it helps you keep a nice, strong, steady base, which, I mean, when we're getting upside down, we need to be strong and steady at the ground level so that everything above that can be super tight and nice and safe. All right, so with the bound version first, I'm gonna show you. Once you've got your forearms down, you grab opposite elbow, you know your shoulders width is right here. Then hands come back down and you interlace your fingers. Now what I do when I interlace my fingers is, and I don't know if everyone does it this exact way, but I only interlace the bottom one. So I interlace and then the pointer fingers kind of open up and the thumbs don't come together at all. And this is my little basket, and that's where I'm gonna set my head. My head's gonna go right into the basket, right at the crown of my head. My middle fingers, or my pointer fingers, excuse me, kind of go a little higher, and the thumbs go up the back of the head towards the brainstem, towards the neck. So you're gonna wanna come right to the crown of your head. So people will push down near their forehead or all the way back here towards the back of the neck, towards the back of the head, and that's not gonna work. You have to be right on the crown of your head. Not that you have a flat spot there, but it kind of helps you to stack your bones. You're gonna put as much pressure on your neck. And that's the last thing we want to do when we're in headstand. We want to be able to push out of the shoulders, engage through the core, and lift up into our legs. That way minimal pressure is going through the head and the neck. We don't want to cause any headaches or any neck tension. So I want you to practice just getting the crown of your head down and lifting the hips up. So let's go ahead, arms down, grab opposite elbow. Kino says to do this for 7 years. Even if you're well into your yoga life, still, you're considered new until you've done this for 7 years. Grab that opposite elbow, hands down. Now interlace those fingers. Remember, pointers just touch, thumbs are open. And this basket is where your head is going to sit. So you put the crown of your head down. My bun's a little bit in the way, so that might not have been the best hairdo for working on headstands. So you'll have to play with that yourself. Put your head down in your basket, kind of wrap your thumbs up the back of your head. And then I want you to tuck your toes, lift your hips, and just get used to this position. Now, did you see that there's a push that happens out of the shoulders? You don't want to dump in all this pressure right into your head, right into your neck, but keep the shoulders engaged and push. I pull the low belly in so that I can really walk the hips up nice and high. If you're super new to headstand, just being in this position, that can be enough. Getting used to holding yourself upside down and getting your bearings there. I'm going to come down so I can talk. Once you are deciding to starting to play in these inversions, you'll find that getting upside down can be very disorienting. All of a sudden, I am always saying, I don't know my right from my left. My right side seems like it's all over here, and like when you say move your right leg, sometimes I move the wrong one. So just getting used to having your hips over your head, over your shoulders, and just hanging out in that position. You may say like, oh, that's too easy, and I don't want to do that. I want to go all the way into the headstand. But if you're new to it, take your time, hang out there, get used to that, because it's a different kind of pressure throughout the neck and throughout the shoulders. And you really need to get your bearings so that you can think straight, because the last thing you want is to get your feet all the way up over your shoulders in that headstand, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it, because that happens. You get startled, you get excited, and then you get kind of like disoriented, and then you fall. So I want you to feel very calm when you get your hips over your shoulders. And so just hanging out with just your head on the ground, your hips up high, that's a perfect place to start. Keeping that low belly pulled in, hips as high as you can, engaging through the legs, even if the toes are on the ground. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to that. And then we're gonna take it a step further, maybe lifting one leg up, all right? Arms down, opposite elbow, there's my basket. Head is down, thumbs are wrapping up the back of the neck. Tuck your toes, push out of the shoulders, right? Keep that big push. Low belly pulls in, hips go high. Let's lift the right leg. So that may only be right here for you, and that's okay. But if you can lift as high as possible, do that. So really pull into this right leg. Keep the left leg engaged by pushing off of it. And I really want you to keep that big push out of the shoulders. That way you don't feel any pressure on the head. All right? Now let's switch legs, lower the right leg down, switch feet, and lift the left. If you feel like you're starting to dump and you're collapsing into your shoulders, then it's time to come down. But if you can stay strong and keep pushing, just a little pressure off those right toes, lifting into the left. Breathe, remember, and keep that low belly engaged. Now let's go ahead and lower that left leg down and sit in child's pose. So lower the knees, rest the forehead. And I want you to stay like that for just a few breaths, because when you go very quickly in and out of headstand, though I want you putting minimal pressure on the head, on the neck, it happens anyways. The idea that we keep the pressure out of the head, obviously that's what we want, but it's still a headstand. So you are gonna be putting some pressure on the head and through the neck. And so resting in child's pose, 4, 5, 6, 10 breaths, whatever you need, and then slowly sitting up onto your shins in a hero's pose. My teacher always emphasizes this, and as somebody that suffers with headaches, or if you have any kind of, blood pressure issues or glaucoma, or any kind of issue throughout the head, maybe not only is headstand not right for you, but if you think that it is and you check with your doctor, then give yourself that time to come out of it slowly, or you likely will get a headache and it's just not any fun. So child's pose, then hero's pose. Please take your time, it's important. All right, so if that wasn't too bad for you and you're ready to move on to a little bit more, let's lift off with both legs, hugging them both in towards the belly, and just see how we feel holding that balance so close to the ground. I'm not gonna lift the legs all the way up because that kind of can be spooky, and then you fall over into that back bend shape, and maybe your shoulders aren't quite ready for that. So I'm gonna teach you a way to do it that if you fall, you know you're gonna fall the right way, the not back bendy way, okay? So if that was enough and you don't feel like you're ready to advance, then that's what I want you to stick with. Just working in the headstand with one leg down and one leg up. Hang out there, do that a couple of times a week. Keep pushing out of the shoulders and the low belly pulling in, and that's how you'll get your strength. But if you're ready for more, let's do more. Forearms down, opposite elbow, head in the little pocket. Walk the feet in. Now you're thinking, I'm ready to go more, I'm ready to balance. So I want you to just pull one leg in. I'm gonna keep the knee bent and I'm gonna squeeze my thigh towards my belly. Let's just practice with kind of not jumping, but floating off that other toe. If that doesn't feel too bad, maybe it hovers. And if it hovers, then we can pull both thighs, both knees in and hang out right here. This will be your first step towards getting that full headstand and getting the legs all the way up over the head. If this is enough, stay right here. If you're ready for a little bit more, keep that left knee pulling in. Let's lift up the right. I really like this pose, this kind of like bow and arrow shape or charger shape, because if you fall, you're gonna fall this way. You're not gonna fall overhead. Now, if you've been here for a moment, let's see if we can switch legs. Pull the right knee in, engage, lift the left leg up. We always wanna do equal amounts on both sides. When you feel like you're starting to get tired pushing out of the shoulders, you know you're dropping in, you're pushing on that neck. Remember, lower those knees in, drop the toes, rest the shins, child's pose. I like to kind of rock my head back and forth, releases the tension through my neck. My teacher will recommend rabbit pose, pushing over the back of the neck or back top of the head, stretching out the back of the neck. And slowly sitting up into a hero's pose once again. So that is the basics of doing your bound headstand. And as you get better at it, you can go right into that charger position. You don't have to start with the knees pulled in towards the belly. You can just lift one leg up. Let me demonstrate for you. But always, always move very slowly and try your very best to not jump. You can jump into a handstand, you can jump into a forearm stand, but I really don't want anybody jumping into a headstand because most likely it's because your core is not strong enough quite yet, and you are going to overshoot and you're gonna fall over, which is okay for some of us that are younger, and then those of us that are not, you're gonna overfall and you're gonna hurt your shoulders and you're gonna never do a headstand again. So let's try to make sure that the core and the shoulders are strong enough to lift ourselves up and not kick into it and jump into it, okay? So if I was feeling really strong in my headstand and I wanted to try it without starting into that egg shape where you're all kind of bunched in, then I would just start like this. I would walk the feet in and I would lift one leg as high as I can, and when this top leg, my left leg, lifts high enough, my right leg's just gonna float up. And as it does, I'm gonna look for that midline. In headstand, it's always farther back than what you think it is. Keep that big push out of the shoulders all the way across the forearms and the elbows. Squeeze the thighs together, reach into the toes. Push so hard out of the shoulders and the forearms that you feel like you could slide a piece of paper under your head, or that you could even lift up into a forearm stand. And when you're ready to come down, you can bend the knees and lower the toes, or you can work on slowly lowering one leg and then the other. Lower the knees, child's pose, a couple deep breaths, pen heroes pose. Okay, so that is the basics for your bound headstand, your supported headstand. And now let me show you a little bit on how to do your tripod. Same types of things, but a different hand position. Some people love this, some people hate it. It's up to you. Find what you like. So just like it sounds, it's going to be a tripod, a 3-part base. So your head and both your hands. I personally thought that this was an easier way, but I've had people that I've taught inversions to that are like, no, this is so much harder. So I just, everybody does their own thing. So you're gonna put your hands down just like you were coming into a handstand or a plank position. Find that nice, comfortable hand position, maybe fingers slightly facing outward a little bit, or maybe you like them nice and parallel. And then you're gonna put your head right in that triangular position. So you're gonna put your head down, crown of the head once again. And you wanna be able to see all 10 fingers. So if your hands are up here and I can't see my pinkies or my ring fingers, they're way too far up. This is way too far back. You want a nice 90-degree bend to your elbow, and you can see all 10 fingers. And then just like before, the same kind of lift up. You tuck the toes, you lift the hips. A really nice place to start with this is to climb the knees onto the triceps. A little bit like a crow pose. I think they call this like a tripod egg or something like that. So just kind of hanging out here is a really nice place to start, because you're all the way up off the ground. You're holding your own weight, but you're not so far off the ground that you're going to flip over. That's not too bad. Then from there, again, rest in that child's pose, then sit up. I don't want you to get a headache. But when you have that little tripod egg shape, then you can start lifting the legs up one at a time, or maybe hiking both legs up together. So I'll show you that here. Head down, see all my fingers. Remember, you don't want the elbows to flare out either. So you don't want it to look like this. You want the elbows in line. You want the elbows in line with the wrists and with the shoulders. If they're flaring out, you're really not going to get that good, strong shoulder blade, all those back muscles, and you're going to need those back muscles to keep you strong and engaged and not hurting your shoulders. So think about making nice, clean lines. And when you're working on this, maybe video record yourself. Make your phone, take a video, see what you're doing. Because to you, like I said earlier, everything in your head is like, oh yeah, that was great, that looked perfect. But when you go back and watch the video, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't have a 90-degree to my elbow. It was way bent, or I couldn't see all my fingers, and you know what, I didn't even have a straight line. I was like a 45-degree angle or something. And while that's totally okay, you really can't see that when you're upside down. Everything feels super amazing and it's exciting. But to go back and watch the video, then you can be like, oh, yeah, maybe I could have squeezed my butt a little bit more, gotten a straighter line, or had I pulled my knee into my belly, maybe I would have been able to fall over the right way and not back bending. So take video, because it does help you in the process, especially when you're upside down, because everything is so backwards.
All right, so once you are ready for that tripod with both legs up in the air, I can see all 10 of my fingers. My elbows are pulling in towards each other. Climb the knees onto the triceps. Keep those elbows pulling in, pushing out of the shoulders. Maybe lift one leg. Well, it's hard to get a really straight line with this because my lower body is pulling in towards the floor. Lifting the legs, pointing the toes, squeeze the butt to get a nice straight line. Switch legs. Right knee down. Left leg up. You might find that one is a lot easier than the other. You have one stronger hip flexor or one stronger quadricep. And then from there, another nice way to do this is to straighten out the lower leg. So I'm not resting on the elbow, but by having the leg straight in this L position, still if I fall the right way, right? So that you're not flipping over, which can be disorienting. And like I said, shoulders don't always love that. Now that's perfect. If you have great open shoulders, there's nothing wrong with falling over into a back bend, if that works for you. But it doesn't work for everybody. So keeping the knees and the thighs pulling in towards the belly is automatically gonna make you fall the right way, all right? The only other thing that I would recommend working on when it comes to these headstands is going very, very slow on the way down, which is hard, right? Because falling isn't usually slow. But if you aim for slow, if you aim for that kind of control, then likely you will probably get very strong at controlling that headstand and you'll be able to float up quietly as well. So what I mean by that is once you're up here, maybe you're not ready to press up. This is a press when you can float the legs up. If you're not there yet, then work very hard on going slow on the way down. So like, oh my gosh, I'm falling. I'm gonna resist, resist, and then go down. So some people call that working the negative or lowering, whatever you want to call it. And in the beginning, it's not easy to do and it's hard and you're like, I can't resist gravity. It's not even there yet. Maybe that's 6 months into your journey. Maybe you're at that 6-month process. So if you're there, then resist gravity, fight the fall. Try to go very, very slow because before you know it, you'll be able to, press right up into your headstand with a pike press. Controlling it into your chaturanga, and be able to use headstand in all kinds of ways in your practice because you fought it and you made it go slow. So some of my best tips to take away for your headstand journey is just keep showing up for it. Try to take fear out of it and work it into your practice whenever it feels right. It can be disorienting to be upside down, so record it and then you can kind of see where your mistakes may have been. Go slow, rest afterwards, take child's pose, sit in hero's pose. Make sure that you had adequate water so that you're not getting super dizzy. If you're feeling dizzy afterwards, back off. Do that child's pose, do that rabbit's pose, stretch out the back of the neck, maybe hang a little upside down if you have that option. Accept where you are in the journey and be okay with the struggle because when you're struggling, it shows that you are trying and you are working for it. It's okay to struggle. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you want to do it, if it's something that's really important to you in your practice, then keep showing up. It will get better. You can do it. Your body was made to do amazing things. I hope that something here helped you and made your headstand practice a little bit more attainable. Please share this on your social media. Make sure that you like and follow. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check me out on TikTok and on Instagram. I'm also KelsYogi there. And that's it for today, guys. Drink your water, rest in your child's pose, and have an amazing day. Namaste.